This is my favorite book in the whole world, Mark Z. Danielewski's House of Leaves. No relation to our movie today. I just thought I'd have some kind of crappy intro to give to you before I begin to ramble with no DVD in hand. Hello there, CriterioNate here, number 399, David Mamet's House of Games. 1987, 102 minutes, color 1.78 English, all that stuff. Now, as you may have guessed, and I've mentioned this before, I wasn't able to get the DVD from the library in any form. I've ordered the Criterion version of it. It didn't come because I assume I ordered it from Azusa Pacific, and I think the DVD is on the school is closed because of spring break and all that. So I'm assuming they're probably going to come back this week maybe, and they'll ship it out, and I'll be able to do the review the supplements at a later time. But at the same time, I also ordered a non-Criterion version of the movie so I could at least watch the movie, and that never came. So I just had to finally watch it on. I watched it on Filmstruck. Thank you, Joe. And here we are. So again, we'll get to the supplements in due time. And I know, and this was a good one, so I do want to get these. I do want to see the interviews because it's mostly interviews with the actors, lead actors, and so yeah. And then there's a short documentary and all that stuff. So yeah, this is one I want to see. And so anyway, House of Games. This is a really trippy kind of suspenseful thriller sort of movie. It's basically about this psychiatrist, Margaret Ford, I think is her name. Dr. Margaret Ford, played by Lindsay Krause, and she has a client whose name is Billy. Billy is in trouble with the law. He owes the mob like $800 or something like that, and so I guess Margaret has been having, issues with her life. She just published a really successful book, but she still thinks it's not enough in her life. She still thinks something's missing. And so she ends up deciding, and Billy berates her for oh, you guys only talk, what are you going to do to help my problems, and Margaret wants to do more, with her career. And so she ends up seeing, the guy, and so she ends up going to the place where he owes the money from, which is called House of Games. It's like a club or something. It's like a game club. And there she meets a man named Mike Mancuso, played by Joe Mantegna, or however you pronounce his name. And Mike agrees to pay back the money, or relieve Billy of the debt if Margaret will sit in on the poker game they're playing and figure out if the guy that they're playing with has a tell, and if he does the tell and all that. And so even though he ends up losing the money because he does tell, and Margaret notices it, lets Mike know. However, Mike still loses, and we find out that it's actually all a big ruse, because the gun that the guy pulls on them actually is just a water pistol. And then Mike lets his guard down and reveals to Margaret that the whole game was a hoax. And basically Margaret ends up becoming really attracted to this lifestyle and, learning sleight of hand and all that. And she falls a little for Mike. And so they end up getting together, and he shows her this acts of deception and all that. And that's basically all I'll tell you. I don't want to reveal the ending. But eventually, it gets they get it over there. Margaret gets in over her head, and it gets a little more dangerous, and she's toward the end, she's on the run for her life and all that stuff, so that's all. I'll leave it at that. This is a really, really smart movie. Definitely surprisingly good definitely very surprisingly good and different for Criterion. Maybe because this is the first. No, this isn't the first English movie we've had in a while. We just had Ace in the Hole, so yeah. But I don't know. It's one of the more recent Criterion films we've seen. Most of the films we've seen are like from the 60s and 50s. You know, the most recent film we had seen like that was La Haine from '95. So it's nice to see him. It's nice to see a movie, you know, outside of 1980. Well, we did see Sans Soleil, but you know, that's anyway. So again, Mamet, I don't know who you are, but you're kind of cool guy. I don't know if we have any more of his movies. Let's see. I'm on Criterion's website right now. It's still in print. I might pick this one up. I really like this one. Let's see. Oh, there is another movie. Let's see. Homicide. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Well, the William H. Macy is in. It's funny because I was watching it on Filmstruck, and William H. Macy plays a sergeant that Mike cons money out of, and so he ends up. And however, when they on Filmstruck, they list William H. Macy first, you know, as top billing, you know, which is like maybe because they think he's the better actor because he's the most, you know, he's still relevant for his role on Shameless right now and all the movies he made after that. So, you know, what are you going to do? But anyway, yeah, Filmstruck is a little weird for that. But anyway, yeah, so I just noticed that he was in another movie, which I think also stars Joe Mantegna, called Homicide, which is what number is this? 486. Oh, we'll see that. We'll see that in about a year. Anyway, yeah, so that one's coming up next season. So we've still got some Mamet, and then I guess what's this other one? I guess he had something to do with Vanya on 42nd Street, which was Louis Malle's final film. I guess he probably wrote it. Let's see here. Oh, Julianne Moore's in that. Oh yeah. Oh, so it was an adaptation of a David Mamet book or something. So interesting. Anyway, so that's all I got. House of Games, great movie, very smart 80s thriller, a lot of intrigue, suspense, sort of film noirish. Margaret is Lindsay Krause's Margaret is fantastic. Joe Mantegna's Mike is fantastic. They make a really cool little team in the movie, and that's basically that. So anyway, that's all I got. House of Games, great stuff, and we will get to the supplements as soon as I can get them and all that good stuff. So for now, this is it. This right here is it. Stranger Than Paradise, number 400. And yeah, so this is the last one in the Criterion collection for this season, and we will get to this one probably tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm not sure what day works best, and then sometime later this week we'll get started on the we'll do a wrap up, and then we'll do the worst 14, and I'm working on getting all the DVDs ready for the top 28. I've got a couple of them, but the majority of them I have to get from the library, and as before, I'll have to film them all separately, and probably have to film them all separately and post them together on my computer. So expect that later this week, maybe next week probably. I've barely gotten started on requesting any, so. And I still have to figure out whether or not I want to put this on the list, this one too, because again, some great movies we've seen, and it's honestly really tricky to figure out what my top 28 will be. And we still have one more. This could be the best movie. I don't think it's going to be the one that I think is my top one. That if you've been paying attention, you know what it is. But you never know. You never know. It may be. I wasn't crazy about Down by Law, but who knows? This might be better. Who knows? Anyway, so that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Don't go to the House of Games, because you never know who you can trust or who you can believe. And yeah, so anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow or Wednesday for Stranger Than Paradise. And until then, goodbye.